me, Sean Capri. I'm glad you're here because you're listening to the most horsepowerful podcast on the internet. It's the Xbox Drive. I'm on a Skype call with my friend Brian Murford. He's the man on the moose, and on our journey today, that Goldeneye is great, I'll tell you. So let's jump on into the Xbox Drive.
No power greater than X.
Hello, Sean Capri.
I'm in my coziest of all the hoodies, Ryan. I get many questions about this little poncho parka hoodie thing that I've got on. It's Xbox themed. It's nice and cozy. And this is take 2 of the show this week, my friend. And hopefully everything works.
Yeah, hopefully anyways. Hopefully nothing's broken this time. Of course, we're streaming live from my new computer in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So, you know, if anything breaks, it's Sean Capri's fault for telling me to buy a new computer. That's it.
Yes.
That's clearly it.
You know what? Just pile it on, man. It's one of those days. My internet has made working from home, podcasting from home very challenging today. But the good news is I've got my Diet Coke from McDonald's, and the kids are off to going to bed, and it's a good time. I can still scream. It's still screaming hour. Yeah. But I'm glad that we get to do this, Ryan. Like, of all the days, of all the times, of all the episodes that we've recorded together, thank goodness we get to do this because it brings me joy, and I'm stoked that people are here with us tonight. We get to do the thing.
Absolutely, Sean. I am so glad we're doing the podcast together. Also, shout out to Stingray in the chat because, by the way, we did do the live stream earlier. I wasn't clean shaven earlier today, but now I am. So, of course.
Yeah, the cleanest shaven. Like, I don't think I've ever seen this from you, Ryan, before, ever.
I basically just shaved like 2 hours ago. So
I think you waxed your face. I don't think that's a shave. Is this a Manscaped preemptive move for a Manscaped spot, Ryan?
Don't try and be Justin Masson over here, Sean. We're better than that. We're better than the Nintendo dads, okay?
Look, I'm not above a Manscaped spot. I'm telling you, dude, like if they got a weed whacker or whatever the heck, I don't know, man. Like use promo code the Xbox Drive or Brian Murford's clean ass face to save 20% off your first order.
I personally would have some integrity here, Sean. I would rather just have a Raid Shadow Legends ad instead. I would rather us be sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends instead.
I'm still down with it. Well, you know what, Ryan? Your face is clean shaven. We'll leave it to the audience's and the listeners' imagination to wonder what else is clean shaven. But it's good to talk to you, my friend. It's a good time to see you.
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, anyways, we should probably hop into the show proper. So folks at home, if you want to support the show, there's a number of awesome ways to do that. Number one, if you're watching the live stream right now over at youtube.com/carpoolgaming, or if you're watching the video on demand later, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and then ding, 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 ring that notification bell to be notified whenever we go live like this episode, or whenever we put up a new video, like a review coming from Cortland Lone tomorrow morning on the channel for a game called Seasons, where you ride your bike. That's it. That's the thing. So that's up on the channel tomorrow. I always like to sprinkle in if we've got something coming up on the channel. I like to sprinkle
Nice. A bike simulator.
Yeah, exactly. Also, if you're listening on audio feeds, don't forget to subscribe to us there if you're listening there as well. And don't forget to rate us if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or leave us a nice review. We haven't done a call out for Apple podcast reviews.
Have we been checked? I can double check here. You know, I'm feeling a little weird tonight, Ryan. I had a heck of a day, and you're gonna get a different Sean tonight. It's a night show. We never do this. It's
Xbox Drive after dark. It's different.
After dark.
Weird.
It's actually pitch black outside, and there's a comet coming. Do you know this? Space break. Hang on a second. Do you know you're gonna be able to see a comet in the sky in like a day or two here, Ryan? Did you know that? Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
I literally didn't even know that was a thing until you just told me just now.
It's going to look like the front cover of the Final Fantasy VII jewel case from 1997 up in the sky. Just a beautiful green comet. You better Google it. Just go check it out. I encourage you guys. Just keep looking up, as what's-his-face would say. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
What was I going to look up?
Oh, Apple Podcast reviews. Because Stingray points out as well, Stingray wishes Spotify would add reviews because they have review like 5-star reviews. You can go on the Spotify app and rank a podcast. But you're right, like you can't leave an actual review of a podcast on Spotify.
We could do like polls and questions on Spotify though. We could put that in there. Maybe we should do something there. That's food for thought for later.
Yeah. And then of course, last but not least, we gotta show love to the Patreon. So of course, if you want early access to some of our shows or some exclusive content like the Console War Room with Sean Capri and Mr. Badbit, head over to patreon.com/carpoolgaming. Throw a little tip in the old tip jar and out comes content. And also, special shout out to Luke Lore for joining the Patreon this week, the Insipid Ghost, aka the master of the Xbox expansion pass. By the way, Luke just launched a new Patreon this week.
New Patreon, new co-host, Captain Logan over there. Good stuff, man. Like it's a whole new Luke. Look at that. Son of a gun.
Everyone should go show Luke some love. Xbox Drive alumni. But then I think there's someone else I'm forgetting. Sean, who else?
Adam Renard.
Yes.
Adam Renard. Welcome on in, Adam. Great, dude. What a wonderful person Adam is. Just like I feel certain camaraderie with Adam. He's one of us, Ryan, is what I would say.
One of us.
I need to thank you to Adam and to Luke, and no thank you to anyone else, because the last Apple podcast review that we got was from Guitarist Stolo in December of 2021. Brian.
Oh, wow.
2021 was that one. They said, I don't know if we ever read this one, and if we did, who cares? It's a repeat from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Just found this podcast and I love it. They do a great job and it feels very relaxed and natural compared to other similar podcasts. Thank you, Guitarist Olo, for that wonderful review. And right alongside it is the Muffin Mon who reviews us. I'll save yours, Kevin, because I wanted to jump over to Eat the Hype. Donnie Reese from PSVG.
It's your boy.
Says 5 stars. Hi, Sean and Ryan. I finally got an iPhone.
There you go.
That's the review.
I'm glad Donnie let us know he got an iPhone.
And you know what, Ryan? Here's what I'll say about this before we move on. We have 68 reviews. We need just one more for that to be real nice. But also, even if we don't get any reviews, I might just go back into the annals of the podcast history here and just read some old stuff. Maybe going back to the Luke and Dave days. I mean, maybe we'll see what we can find here.
Maybe. I mean, yeah. We'll see. I mean, now, here's the thing, Sean. I don't know if you remember this about iTunes or Apple Podcasts, is that it's all the reviews are set by region. So actually, if you go to the Canada one, our newest review there is from November 26, 2001. It was a banner year for podcast reviews. Court Lalone reviewed us.
Look at that. Oh man, there's a Orca Man, there's a K Nintendog, Nintendads, yup, 124739552. Is that it's like a Nier Automata username over here?
God, it's the only thing it's missing to separate it from Kingdom Hearts is fractions. We
need decimal points up in there for sure.
No. Yeah, decimal points is a Nier Automata thing. Fractions is the Kingdom Hearts thing.
I'm sorry. No, you're right.
352 over 11 days, Sean.
My bad.
That's the real name of a video game.
Oh, dude. Well, we'll save some of these. We'll save some more for later. There's lots in there, but we haven't made a push for this in a while. You're right.
No, that's why I want to mention it a little bit more. But anyways, let's grab our 8 tracks, pop them in. It is time for the playlist. Let's talk about the games we played this week because Sean, you've been chopping at the bit for a while. So much so that it broke the stream earlier today when I asked you this question. But I know you played Goldeneye, so tell me about it.
Well, this is what I'm thinking, Ryan, is yes, I wanted to talk about Goldeneye, but online doesn't work with Goldeneye on Xbox, so it shut the dang stream down earlier today. Goldeneye, Ryan, is special, and here's the deal. I talked a little bit about it on the Nintendo Drive yesterday. People should subscribe to that podcast, even if you don't even like Nintendo. It's a good time. We barely even talk about Nintendo.
Well, not only that, but we were both on it, so if you like the Xbox Drive, just go listen to the Nintendo Drive. I was there.
Just down the street. It's just a carpool down the road here at youtube.com/carpoolgaming. GoldenEye is special, and it feels great on Xbox, Ryan. It runs well. It has nice, crisp graphics with the muddiest of textures that you could possibly imagine. But Dr. Doak and his friends in the facility look wonderful alongside Oddjob and Trevelyan and all these other wonderful characters from GoldenEye. I am a little over halfway through the campaign, and you could play couch co-op, but I ain't got no friends.
Of course.
Ryan, it's a very sad deal. So I'm focusing on the campaign, and the controls feel, I almost say perfect as they could probably feel on an Xbox controller. It feels very much like a Halo or Call of Duty, which is in stark contrast to the experience that we have over in Nintendo land. And it's a it's a bloody mess over there, and it's such a shame. But the good news is this is on Game Pass. This is on your digital version of Rare Replay, which is great. And it's a miracle that it is playable on modern systems. You know, aside from all the other things that we could possibly say about it, GoldenEye is a special game, and we can now play it on our systems, and I am very happy about that, Ryan. I am most familiar with the first half of the missions. Yep. And that's what I've completed. So now I'm somewhat in uncharted territory, I would say, because I didn't own a 64. I just mooched it off of my friends and played it as much as I could there. So I'm into pretty difficult missions at this stage, but I'm just having a blast, man. I'm unlocking cheat codes. I'm going after the time trials and everything. I've gotten most of them that I've done on the missions I've done so far, except for the facility, which is the second mission. You have to finish in like 2 minutes and 5 seconds. It's a whole thing. But man, what a celebration. If you can open your mind and go beyond the 1997, 1998 graphics, the soundtrack is one of the best in video games. And as I'm playing this, I'm like, man, how many times over the years of you and I doing this podcast, we've answered questions like, what's your favorite music in video games? What's your favorite soundtrack? And we'll say things like Ori or whatever, but like GoldenEye deserves to be up there for the music. The sound design is excellent. The level design it's so backwards. I watched a documentary on it, Ryan, where like they did like backwards game design, they called it, where they just built a level and then went like, what objectives can we put in here? And it's amazing. It's very actually refreshing to go back and have this different experience. But I'm rambling, and it's only because I love GoldenEye. It was special for me back in the day. It feels great on Xbox, and I just wish it has online multiplayer, dude. That would just complete the whole thing. But this is the one. I dare say this is the definitive edition of GoldenEye that you can play at this stage, with that caveat, of course, that you can't play it online with friends.
Yeah, it really just sounds like the perfect version of the game without the online. That's the only killer, which again is like, it makes it true to the N64 experience, because the N64 experience it didn't have a multiplayer. So
that's true.
You did have to play around, the house with them. But here's the thing, Sean. While you don't have a lot of friends to play local co-op with yet, you have the benefit of being a father. So your kids are eventually going to grow up and be old enough to play GoldenEye with you. And then this will be a thing. Like, let me ask you this, of course, because I need to know this information for the future, of course, when I have children. Sean, what is the proper age that you're going to introduce Lincoln to with GoldenEye?
Dude, this is a question I struggle with quite a lot, because I was playing like Wolfenstein and Doom when I was probably 6 or 7 years old, honestly, which is a year or so beyond where Lincoln is right now. So I don't know what the answer to that is, to be honest with you, but like, he is capable of starting to wrap his head around, these controls and everything. I'm watching him play Mario 3D Land on his 2DS, and it's like, that's not the easiest game either. So it's interesting watching him coming along there. I'd be interested to see what the young kids today would think of this one. This is very much like one of those games where we look back and go like, oh, when I was your age, this was the best thing possible, and this is the state-of-the-art graphics and blah blah blah. And yeah, it's like, okay, boomer. Like, whatever.
Okay,
man.
Grandpa, we're just gonna wheel you off now.
But the only other thing I would say here, Ryan, on that note, that there's no online multiplayer or whatever, is people remember GoldenEye for its multiplayer, and I want people to shift that thinking maybe a little bit to consider that it was actually the campaign that's the star of this. Right. Like, it is the level design is so great, so varied. The mission structure, of course, we talk about like the difficulties and the varying objectives, the weapons and the differences in like, this is probably the best that I've ever been at any form of stealth, to be honest with you. I think the AI still holds up pretty good. And again, this is stuff we take for granted now, that it was cutting edge back then. When you shot a guy in the head, he died. This was not a thing. Like, you could shoot a guy like square between the eyes, and it would count like a body shot. And I shot a guy in the tush, and he kind of just like hopped up a little, like, ooh, a little bite in the butt there. Yeah. And so the animations, while old and archaic, there's a rare charm. as in like the charm that you get from this developer, rare. So I really like it. People should play the campaign. Don't dwell too much on the fact that the online multiplayer isn't there, because that mission structure is so special. So
and it's so unique from other shooters, because we talked about this on Nintendo Drive yesterday. But I mean, I was expecting that after Perfect Dark and after Goldeneye, that more first-person shooter developers would, take what Goldeneye did with the objectives that they had for each difficulty, and then roll with it for their other games. And no one else really does that. So
I know
that's one of the unique things to both Perfect Dark and Goldeneye that makes them really special. So you're absolutely right. The campaign for that game, I think, is probably better than the multiplayer, especially now for someone who maybe didn't play it at the time. Like, I think someone nowadays who never played Goldeneye when it came out would have way more fun with the campaign than the multiplayer. Like, I think it'd almost be inverse from the way it was when the game first came out, which is just funny to think about how the times have kind of changed. But obviously, I'm glad we at least have the better version over on Xbox, because, man, those controls on the Switch are something. And there's other obvious reasons why it is a little bit better on Xbox. So I'm glad that just like you said, I'm glad that it even exists in the first place, and that a deal could have been made to actually bring this to consoles, because I feel like we're winning here, that this even exists.
Yeah, we can get and I'm glad that you say that. Like, we really should be celebrating things like this, where, like, lately especially, it just seems like, we're so rich with choice and games to play that we jump to criticism so quickly. It's like, well, this is an N64 game. Let's just have fun, you know?
And of course, the game preservationist in me, Sean, always gets very excited when, games like this get preserved and they're not just lost to time. Similar to when Mega Man The Wily Wars came to Nintendo Switch Online, because that game was like lost to time forever, because that was a Sega Channel exclusive and you couldn't actually buy that game. So they actually managed to preserve it on, Nintendo Switch Online. So I always love to see stories like this come up. So I'm glad that you played that. I also see the notes say you play a little Hi-Fi Rush. So tell me about that too.
A little bit of Hi-Fi Rush, Ryan. I was so stoked. And shout out to the whole crew being on the Xbox Drive last week. We had a special episode. If you missed it, you got to go back, check it out. Seth and Court and Matt, and we're all laughing and giggling, and Ryan kept us somewhat in order. And I, like so many other people, was wowed by the reveal, the Hi-Fi Rush last week from Tango. And I jumped in for, the first hour or so, and it is... I feel like it delivers on the hype that it kind of quickly drummed up last week. It feels great to play. The music is wonderful. The animation is awesome. And I want to play a little bit more. I think that I might be done with GoldenEye, so I might be able to jump back over here at Hi-Fi Rush. So I don't have too much to report on, other than to say I'm with many other gamers out there, I think, that are playing this game that we had no idea existed, and now here it is. And it's a great time for playing the Vidya games here, Ryan Turford.
Nice. I mean, there's a lot of the games that are out right now, so there's definitely a lot of choice. And Hi-Fi Rush is one of those things where I didn't get a chance to play it, mainly because there are so many games out right now. Like, I almost wish that game. It was awesome to see it get shadow drop, but I kind of wish it wasn't right now that it shadow dropped.
Right, you can shadow drop it in like 6 weeks or something like that. Like, I don't know exactly where that lands us. The only thing I would say, Ryan, that I have to wrap my mind around, and actually might have been the reason that I jumped off a little bit, is I compare it a little bit to Metal Hellsinger, where it was same idea, like you have to fire on the beat and kind of thing. But with Metal Hellsinger, you're shooting a gun, and so you're shooting and the gun fires. Like, so as long as you're clicking on the beat, everything kind of happens all at the same time. With Hi-Fi Rush, there's the beat and you hit like attack, but he swings the guitar, and I have to figure out the timing on that. It's like a delay almost, where you hit it and then the attack lands, I guess, on the next beat. So I kind of have to wrap my brain around that. That's a lot, I think, for my simple-mindedness. So other than that, it's very cool, and just glad a game like that exists on Xbox and is on Game Pass.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as for me, honestly, I don't have a lot to say about what I've been playing this week, because Sean knows from our conversation yesterday, I played 50 hours plus of Fire Emblem in 10 days. So I didn't have a lot of time for other games, unfortunately, because I was just like, honestly, I was just so invested in Fire Emblem. I didn't even need to, play it for a review or anything like that. I was just so invested in the game that I just didn't want to put it down, or I just didn't want it to end kind of thing. So I spent almost my entire last week and a half basically playing that.
I love it.
And then I played another game last night that is also not coming to Xbox, in the Theatrhythm Final Bar Line demo.
Ooh,
which, by the way,
yes.
Sean, I will mention it here for Fantasy Critic purposes, because you and I both have it in our league versus the trophy room, of course.
Yes.
Very, very, very positive reactions to the demo from me. It was really, really good.
Man.
It was exactly what I was kind of expecting. In fact, I liked it. I thought it was even better than what I was expecting going in. So I would say it's probably going to be mid 80s is what I'm predicting for this game.
Interesting.
Yeah, I
love it, man. Well, speaking of the dum-dums, Kyle and Joe over at the trophy room, they're sitting at 7.6 points. Their only game so far is season, sitting at a 77.6. Not the best start for them, I will say. So we win January. This is February 1st as we are recording this. Our 2 games, Dead Space Remake, sitting at an 89.6, and Fire Emblem Engage sitting at an 81.5. So eat all of that, Joe and Kyle.
Also, those dum-dums picked up Metroid Prime 4, and we made them pay for it, Sean, because they're locked in.
They're locked in.
Yeah, it's official. But
I don't know, Ryan. Should we call in? Should we call in people to check out the link for this? And you guys maybe the community will help us with our final counter pick. What should we lock them in? Should we lock them in with something like Armored Core? Is that game coming out this year?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. In fact, I just pasted the link in the chat if people want to go check it out.
There you go, man.
Because I have it. I have that link ready and to paste whenever we need it, kind of thing. Because
they have 3 Metroid games picked. They have Metroid Prime 4, at Metroid Prime 1 HD, and Metroid Prime Trilogy HD.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they suck at this. You think they get better by?
I
think they learn.
Or they're geniuses. I mean, one of those I think is actually coming out this year, but it's just which one is the question.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Or this Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. Like, these are their picks. They think they're gonna beat us with this.
Although I to give them credit, I feel like we're gonna lose some points with Advance Wars 1 and 2 reboot kit, because it looks like that game's actually gonna come out now. But
it's 72.
But
72.
Yeah, that's gonna probably be like a high 70s, low 80s game. So we should still be okay. But
yeah.
Anyways.
I don't know, man. I'm very curious to see how that one does. I mean, we'll save that for Patreon exclusive, Yumi Capri and the Console War Room, which people should definitely go check out.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But other than that, I played a lot of card games on PC. Magic the Gathering Arena, Legends of Runeterra. That was kind of my week.
Nice.
So there you go. That was kind of what we've been playing. But let's slam the brakes on this conversation, Sean. It is time for some breaking news. So first up, Sean, I didn't really write this out. So we can have like a free-form conversation about this first
All right.
one.
Big show.
But Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg posted this article talking about the future of Halo, Sean, and what's happening with Halo. So there were rumors going around, and for full disclosure, both Sean and I don't like to talk about rumors on the Xbox Drive at all. That's just not really our thing. So we haven't really had a conversation about this on the show before, but there were rumors going around that Halo was kind of done and 343 was kind of done. But Jason actually posted up an article stating that basically Halo is going back, like 343 is still working on Halo, but they're kind of starting from scratch, changing engines to the Unreal Engine. And then it sounds like Halo Infinite is going to kind of be abandoned at this point, besides the multiplayer. Like, it doesn't sound like the grand idea of adding like single player campaigns to the rest of that map is going to happen at this point, Sean. So I want to know your take on this. What do you think about this news?
I'm glad that you kind of put a bit of some context around this, because this is one report. I believe the report, by the way, which is why I wanted to make sure that we had a chance to chat about this. I believe this is the case. I don't believe this is something that Xbox would come out and say, like, guess what we're doing? This, it's not exactly, something that they want to send a press release out about. But a couple big things for me. Number one, just the overall kind of start from scratch idea has me thinking, I don't want to sound dramatic here, but on first blush, I almost just want to delete Halo Infinite right now and just go like, we toy with the idea of bringing Halo Saturdays back, and maybe we do it like once a month or something like that. And it's like, dude, if this is the case, I'd rather actually almost go back to Master Chief Collection.
That was literally what I was just
that.
about to say. Like, let's go back. We could just go back to Halo 2 at this point. Just play that.
Totally. Yeah, because part of wanting to play Infinite is like showing support and showing that there's a community out there who wants this game to succeed, and there's a bunch of that. But Master Chief Collection is great. And also give me a Gears, like Marcus Phoenix Collection. Like if that's a thing, like let's get more of that. The engine conversation I think is fascinating. And I think that this notion of going to a different game is really the only way that you can do it. There were rumors before, of course, you mentioned we don't talk about rumors on this show, but we read the internet. We go on our web browsers and check things out. I think there were rumors that were suggesting that Infinite was going to go to Unreal. And it's like, how do you do that?
Right.
How do you swap out? Like, I don't want to get too judgy here, but I feel like when you make a suggestion like that, you don't really understand how games are made. Like, how the heck was that going to be a possibility? Now that it's got the context of whatever the next one is going to be, that's going to be on Unreal. It gives me hope. I think, personally, I feel like almost every game should just be built on Unreal. Right. Like, why you try something else at this point, I don't really know.
Like, why are games still being built on Frostbite at this point? Already.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. They've got it figured out. One of my favorite games of all time, Unreal, obviously just figured it out from day one. So I'm hopeful. The short-term reaction is that it's bad news. The long-term reaction is like, I hope that this is finally what is needed. But to say, like, just let it go to rest. I don't think this is a new or novel idea. I don't even want to think about Halo for like 7 years, dude. Like, let me miss it for a long time.
Yeah. Like
we'll wake up when we're ready.
I almost would rather like 343 at this point do like a new IP or do something different before the next Halo.
That would be best.
Like,
yeah.
Because kind of like what the Coalition's doing with Gears, where like we know they've already talked about this. The next game from the Coalition is not a Gears game. It is a smaller new IP that's happening first before, Gears 6 comes out. Like I kind of wish they would do the same thing for Halo, where, we were thirsty for Halo for so long before Infinite came out because, it had been like 5 or 6 years since, Halo 5 had come out. And that was a game that not everyone loved. So of course people were hungry for the next Halo game. Where now that we've gotten Infinite, you're right. I think that maybe it's a good time to put the series on pause at this point and then come back in a huge way with whatever this next game is going to be. In fact, like I almost hope that whatever's next for Halo is like almost like a full reboot of Halo and not even trying to pick up the story from where Infinite left off.
Interesting.
Or maybe even following different characters and not having it about Master Chief and about having it about someone else. Like I would love to see like just them come back in a big way with the series. Cause I think for Halo to be big, I don't think it needs to necessarily continue the, decade long storyline that's been happening with Halo. I think they can do some new stuff with it. So, I'm open to seeing what new ideas they can come up with Halo in a new Halo game in Unreal Engine 5 at this point. But we'll see.
Yeah. Captain Logan in the chat says, no way I want an end for Infinite. That reminds me of something else that came out of this, is that apparently there's no single player like expansions coming out. There's nothing like that's it. Like that sucks. That really, I don't remember. I don't have the most photographic memory, Ryan, as everybody knows at this point. I feel like they did say there's more to come. There's more DLC.
100% said that because that was the whole idea of doing Infinite, they said.
Right.
The way it was, because they said it was going to be, there wasn't going to be a Halo game after that. All the other stories of Master Chief were going to be built into Halo Infinite going forward.
Well, now these reports are like that was never the case, and or whatever was in the hopper is canceled, and it's like, that stinks. Yeah. Because a lot of my reaction to especially Halo's campaign was with that understanding that there was still more to come and like, let's continue this journey. Now I don't even know what to think.
Yeah.
Like what a mess. How does this happen? I almost like don't even want to know what the answer is, because it almost doesn't even matter. It's just a disaster. And the biggest shame of it all is, aside from the fact that Halo just continues to be sullied by all of this, is that whatever big game is next now carries all this baggage and has that expectation that better save Xbox. That personally, I don't think Xbox needs saving, but that seems to be like kind of the narrative on the internet.
Right.
So like Starfield inherits all this stuff, and it all could have been avoided if Halo just got delayed for like another 2 years, and we'd all be still talking about Forza Horizon 5, the one good game that actually is great and just rock solid. Oh my gosh. That game was out for like 2 weeks, and then they do Halo Infinite. Ryan.
I know.
Well,
it's because they put Master Chief on the box for the Series X, so, you know.
Who cares,
They had to put that game out at some point. But yeah, you're right. Like, they should have just taken more time with it and got like the game that the update that we just got with the co-op update and stuff, like that should have just been the game that we got when it came out. Because
and that's the thing, all these updates are starting to pile up here. Like all the writing, like apparently has just been on the wall for a while. You know, like just the delays, the ancient, the eons long seasons makes no sense. The no roadmap, the removal of the couch co-op, all this stuff is like, oh wow, it was all there.
Yeah.
You know, and we all held out hope because, you know, it's Halo, they can't mess it up, and they totally did.
Also, it's just funny to think about. I think Halo is on season 4 right now, whereas season 4 or 5, I can't remember off the top of my head. But like just to throw it in perspective, like Overwatch 2 came out in October. They just announced today season 3 is coming in like 2 weeks.
Yeah. That was the sign, honestly. And they kind of spun it, and I got fooled by it. I will admit that they're like these long seasons, and the season passes don't expire, and all this stuff seemed like it was good. But really what it was just indicating was that there wasn't enough ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, they were kind of building. It was almost like an episodic series of like Telltale games.
Yeah.
Or the Life is Strange ones, which I actually think, you might be able to correct me on this, that they were building it as they were releasing it. Like when they released episode 1 on the first Life is Strange game, they hadn't finished the game yet.
Well, that wasn't actually the case for Life is Strange, but that was the case for the Telltale games.
Oh, did I flip them? Okay, yeah. That's wild to me. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why the Telltale engine was just so janky over those years, because it's just like, well, they don't have time to go through and fix the problems with their engine because they kept because of the way they developed their games, which is something.
Well, who needs Halo? I'm playing Goldeneye. That's Series X, for God's sake.
Well, again, it sounds like we don't have any shortage of games to play on Xbox this year, or even, by the sounds of it, even next year, with some of these other games that would have been promised years ago are finally going to start coming out. So I think the next 2 years, we're not going to need Halo.
That's what I hope for. I just hate that whenever this sort of thing happens, because I feel like it happened with the Xbox One as well, is the burden on the next games are so high that they'll never be deemed as successful in that moment. And recently, I can't remember if we talked about it on the show last week, but like recently the internet was like, we love Quantum Break. Yep. It's like, where were you in 2015, 2016? Like whatever, like that game, I love that game. And then all of a sudden you guys are here after, and it's because in the moment, there wasn't anything happening on Xbox One. That was the game, and it wasn't a 10 out of 10, so Xbox is dead.
Yeah.
Like we've been doing this for a long time, and I get tired of that kind of thing.
It's like when you're following sports teams, like the Toronto Maple Leafs, every time they draft like this really hot, like amazing up and coming prospect, if they don't do super well, they're like, oh well, they didn't save the team, so they're trash.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Good one. Look at you with the sports analogy.
Just welcome to Sports Talk Drive.
All right,
folks.
Yeah. Sports Talk Drive.
Sports Talk Drive. Also, I liked Quantum Break too. Just to throw it out there. There's old Game Moose episodes back in the day when Drew McMillan and I were talking about games where he did not like that game, and I was like, man, I love Quantum Break, especially like I love the TV show part of Quantum Break too.
Me too.
Oh my god, it was
so good.
Yeah.
Anybody who liked Metal Gear Solid 4 should enjoy Quantum Break, I think, for the savory. Like, if you were okay with those cutscenes, holy crap. Oh my God. And I'll throw this out there just for engagement. People can yell at me in the comments below. Quantum Break, twice the game that Alan Wake is. I think it's way better. Yeah. I'd much rather a sequel to Quantum Break than Alan Wake, and I'm realizing in this moment that they rhyme.
Honestly, I don't think they should ever do a sequel to Quantum Break, because I think it's perfect the way it is. It doesn't need a sequel.
Oh, well, look at you. That was very supportive.
Yeah. All right, moving on. All
right. Anyways.
This one got spun out of control, and first of all, props to you, Sean, for putting out the tweet commenting about IGN's reporting on this particular story that we're about to talk about. Because Microsoft have confirmed that they are not going to technically be at E3 on the E3 show floor, they did confirm that they are working with ReedPop to host a physical showcase the weekend before E3 at the Microsoft Theater across the street from the LA Convention Center. So while they're not technically at E3, they are basically ostensibly at
E3, baby.
Yeah. Well, they're basically as much as at E3 as they were when you went in 2019.
Totally. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I tweeted out earlier today, like, I don't remember the last time that we had like 2 stories that were like broken by IGN. And kudos to IGN, like, keep doing that, please. Gosh, I don't want to see as reported by blah, 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 or copy and paste from this. And like, IGN, you're IGN, for goodness sakes. Ryan, I honestly, at this point, I don't even know if I care about what's E3 or not E3. I just want, like, market to me in a big bad way, early June, late May, whatever. Like, just do that thing, and I'm stoked about it.
Yeah.
That's kind of it. So I'm glad that, I don't know that this was really an announcement. It's more of a scoop, actually, from IGN. And I'm very hopeful that we'll get the official word very soon, because we're going to have to figure out our coverage, Ryan. We're going to have episode 300 happening somewhere around there, actually. So there's going to be lots to celebrate. But yeah, that's back after the pandemic. The world is opening up again. The Microsoft Theater is awesome.
Yeah.
And Xbox puts on a great show, dude, and they treat their fans so great. If I imagine there's going to be a fan fest attached to this as well. Fan fest is the real deal. Like, E3 is one thing, but having kind of been a part of both, Fan fest was the special part, actually. It's great access, very small lines. Like, you get treated like gold. And that was Luke and I, when we went there, we were with the rest of the FanFest group. It's not like, ooh, the Xbox Drive is here. That's not a thing. We were with a smaller group compared to the rest of E3, and it was awesome. So I hope more people get to do it this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm excited to see what their actual plans are. But the main reason I wanted to mention it here is I'm glad that at least it sounds like we're kind of coming back to normal with a lot of this stuff. Because I like, you and I both said this on the show many times. We both miss E3. We both miss kind of the big spectacle of having, like, everyone kind of market their games all at the same time to us, and everyone coming together under one roof. So I am excited, at least, that it sounds like we're going to have, some awesome plans coming from Microsoft. And I'm curious to know if we actually decide to actually go or not. Maybe I need to look into booking flights around this time. We'll see. We'll talk about that after the show.
We'll see.
But
that means we have to go to America. Maybe they should come to us. You know what I mean?
They really should.
Come to us.
Yeah. Just move the Microsoft Theater to Toronto. Just move it down the street. I saw there's a good, like, parking lot. They could just, build it there. It'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be great.
All right. Moving on. This one, again, another story that was thrown completely out of proportion, but there is an important footnote to this story. So 46 games are being delisted from the Xbox 360 store on February 7th. And while these games will still be purchasable on the Xbox One and Series X store, the following games I'm about to read will no longer be able to be purchased digitally at all from either store, because they are only available currently on the 360 store, but they're all backwards compatible games. So they all work on Series X or Xbox One, but you won't be able to buy them anymore. And some of these are actually online exclusives, so you'll just never be able to buy them again at this point on Xbox.
Wow.
So Blood of the Werewolf, Counter-Strike Go, Daytona USA, Defense Grid, Final Fight, Iron Brigade, Jeremy McGrath's Off-Road, Jet Set Radio, Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2.
Wow.
Mutant Blob's Attack, the 2008 Prince of Persia reboot, Ruse, Sega Vintage Collection Alex Kidd and Company, Skate 2, Spelunky, and the biggest one on this list, the Orange Box. None of these will be purchasable at all on the Xbox store after February 7th. So if you want to get these games, you have till next week, because they will no longer be able to digitally. Stuff like Daytona USA, which is actually a Sega Saturn port, or Jet Set Radio, which is a Dreamcast port. Like, those don't exist on disc. So if you want to play them on Xbox at all, you have to buy them like by next week, or they'll be gone forever, which just breaks my heart as someone who loves, when games get preserved. I hate when licenses run out like this, because it's just awful. So.
Yeah, my general take on sort of like games being delisted and stuff is, if you really care about game preservation, then you would buy the physical versions. But for the games that's not an option for, those ones really, really sting.
Yeah.
The orange box is special, man. That's a last of its kind. It was only ever going to happen once ever. Like the value in that, the fidelity of games that you got in the orange box is bonkers. And it's probably going to go down as one of my prized possessions in my Xbox 360 collection, alongside with those other Valve games, Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2. Those games are great. It's a shame. The other thing too, Ryan, you might be able to correct me. I feel like those ones got really nice. What are they called? Like enhancements. And Xbox
They did
enhanced.
Or Orange Box
run
plays
good
in 4K on Series X at 60 frames per second. Like, it's a market improvement over the PS3 version, which was hot garbage on PS3, let alone trying to play that through, play it PS Plus streaming. Like, forget about it. Just don't
big time
with it. So.
Yeah. Honestly, the frame rate is similar to like GoldenEye on 64. Like, I'm not joking, dude. The frame rate on the original Left 4 Dead games are horrendous.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the Xbox enhancements, it's real nice.
Yeah.
Real good.
Also, shout out to the Prince of Persia reboot from 2008.
Oh, yeah.
Because I also have a soft spot for that game. That game's awesome. And that also got great 4K enhancements as well on One X. And that's one you should keep your eye on as well, folks at home. If you've never played it, I think it's really good. But
big time. Yeah.
Moving on to a story that made Courtland Lone cry at home this week. Respawn have announced that Star Wars Jedi Survivor has been delayed out of March and is now arriving on April 28th. So all these games just coming out are now around Tears of the Kingdom, because this is basically a week and a half before Tears of the Kingdom. So we got that, and then
Redfall.
So on that Friday, April 28th, we have Jedi Survivor. Then the Tuesday afterwards, we get Redfall. And then later that week, we get Tears of the Kingdom. And then Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League is like a week later. But I'm just saying, like, why are all the games now starting to bubble up around there? It's silly.
We're going to have to take some serious time off. My son's birthday is in the middle of April, and I typically take time off around that, but I might have to push that, to be honest with you, Ryan. Yeah. I also need to do that. I actually need to have a look at the games that are coming out here. And I pledged at the beginning of the year that I want to take a day off work for a game and just play it and when it launches. And I still want to do that. I'd love to hear what other people have to say about that as well. If that's a thing, I think I heard that the man who claims to have a job, Kevin Ainsworth from Save the Game, he says that he does this, and I want to do it. I want to take a day off of work to play a video game, Ryan. I'm an adult.
I kind of want to do that too. I mean, in fact, actually, I saw there was a PR rep I follow on Twitter, who I'm blanking on his name. He actually mentioned on Twitter that he actually did take a day off for Jedi Survivor, and then it got delayed, and he legit. So now he's like,
that's my fear.
To change my plan now.
That's actually my fear, and it's why I haven't done it before. Because who believes any release dates? Maybe everybody's banking on Tears of the Kingdom getting delayed, and we keep saying Tears of the Kingdom that I'm forgetting that it's Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah,
like we're officially changing it. Yeah, man.
It's been changed officially.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my god. But yeah, so look out for that in April. So again, not too long of a delay, but I mean, it got it out of range of Resident Evil 4, because this was coming out the week before Resident Evil 4, and now it's coming out the week and a half before Tears of the Kingdom, as well as Redfall. So it's just like, this game just is going to be in a busy spot, I think, no matter.
Are you seeing some of this coverage? I don't even know if it's in the notes here. Are you seeing some of the coverage for Resident Evil 4 Remake?
I have chosen intentionally not to look at it, because I don't want to know more.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm excited though. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Like I can't wait for that game. As someone who loves Resident Evil, it's one of my favorite series. Like I'm chomping at the bit to play that game. But
neat.
Last news story: Ubisoft have announced the Crew Motorfest. Now, Sean, tell me if you've heard this pitch of for a racing game before. In the Crew Motorfest, you have a racing festival in an exotic location in an open world racing game, where you're racing around in a bunch of cars and you've got some exotic vehicles and stuff like that, and you're just trying to explore the island. Look at all the vistas. What kind of game does this remind you of at all? Does it remind you of anything else at all?
Nothing I've ever heard of. This sounds completely new and something I've never experienced before, so that gets me excited about this, Ryan. That's awesome. I can't wait.
So it's coming to Xbox One and Series X and S sometime later this year. They had like a short trailer, and honestly, I just have to say it. It just looked exactly like Forza Horizon 5, but in Hawaii. Which isn't bad. I mean, if you're
that's cool.
If you're gonna rip off if you're gonna like style your game after a game, like you got to go after the best like that. Like it's why PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale, when that came out, we were like, you should have just gone full Smash with that one, and it probably would have been better. I like that they're going kind of very Forza Horizon-y with the Crew, which I think is actually a good move for the series, because like the Crew has always had its ups and downs as far as its games, and especially because it did had you switch between a bunch of different types of vehicles, like hang gliders and boats.
Very
and stuff.
exciting. Mm-hmm.
So I could see that in this type of locale, like going around rather than driving across the country, because that was the Crew's hook before, like just having it set in Hawaii. Like I think it's gonna be a very pretty game, and I'm excited to learn more about this one. I think because it might be pretty good, but we'll see.
Yeah, what I remember from the Crew, and I love Ubisoft games. It really pains me to say stuff like this, but like, I think the driving is the worst part about the Crew. Like, I actually think boats and planes and everything else feel way better, and it's super exciting. The fact that this leans so hard into Forza territory, it's like, golly, you have all these other modes of transportation that we could have leaned into instead. But yes. I can't see in the chat says you're confusing the Crew with Riders Republic. I don't think that.
No, I'm actually because you actually did that in both the Riders Republic and the Crew, because I remember there were boat sections in the Crew too. Yeah, you had a bunch of different.
No, that was the best. That was the best part of the Crew. I do need to get back to Riders Republic, and I also need to get back to or play Marvel's Avengers, Ryan, before that whole thing gets shut down.
That's right, because I actually almost put that story here because we missed it on last week's show. But Marvel's Avengers is shutting down as well, and I kind of want to play that too. But it's getting delisted in September, so you have lots of time to pick it up and play it if you don't have it already.
Who knows, dude?
Yeah. But anyways, let's the Winter Gamer into the car with us, because it is time for the carpool, and he's got the honor of being our one question this week. The Winter Gamer, in fact, has been activated. So he asked the question, have y'all tried Age of Empires 2 on Xbox? I gave it a try and did both the keyboard and mouse and controller options, and I, for one, had fun with keyboard and mouse. Do you think we will be able to get PC games on the Xbox for keyboard and mouse controls only? I, for one, would be very interested in it because it would condense more games onto one platform. So I think that's interesting, but I don't think they would ever do that, Winter Gamer. And the only reason why I say that is because they want to give people who don't want to plug in a keyboard and mouse on Xbox the ability to play the game with just the controller. Like, that's the idea of putting games on console, is the simplicity of being able to play them with controller. Do I agree though with you that keyboard and mouse would work better for a lot of these games? Absolutely. This goes all the way back to the original Xbox with Alien vs. Predator Extinction, which was a real-time strategy game that with the aliens and the predators, but also stuff on 360 like Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth 2 or Command and Conquer 3. Like we've seen them throw around this idea of doing real-time strategy games on console, and there's always like a different control scheme for every single one of them. But I think you kind of have to do that if you want to make real-time strategy on consoles work, or even just PC games on console. Like, I think they have to probably build a controller option in. It's one of the reasons why, as much as I would love to see a game like World of Warcraft come to consoles, there's way too many gosh darn buttons for that game to actually work on controller. Whereas the main reason why Final Fantasy 14, for example, works on consoles, because that game was designed with the console mindspace first, and then they designed it for PC. Whereas the other way around for a game like World of Warcraft. So that's why I think you won't probably see games with just mouse and keyboard only. But I want to know what you think about this, Sean.
I will not play Age of Empires with a controller on the Xbox. I don't get it. I this might be like gatekeeping or whatever, just an old man elitist, like blah blah blah, but like that, those games are built for mouse and keyboard, and I just don't know, like, and I have access to a computer that's capable of doing all this stuff, so there's that. I was in deep thought as you were kind of exploring this topic a little bit, Ryan, because I was trying really hard to think about an exclusive PC game that would be applicable to bring over to Xbox in this way, that would be under the control of Xbox to be even able to do that sort of thing? Because currently everything that's first party for the most part is like you can play it anywhere. There's very few. Age of Empires might be the only one remaining, but with maybe this Activision Blizzard thing, I think World of Warcraft would be amazing to have as an option to play on Xbox, and I would love to see keyboard and mouse being brought over. And I would only disagree with you to say, if that's the only way you can play it, then that's the only way you can play it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that it would be, I think it would be bold for them to do that, understanding that you have an Xbox. Most people have an Xbox sitting there and they only have a controller, and there's World of Warcraft, and you won't be able to play it unless you have a keyboard and mouse.
Right.
I know that that's tricky. I know that might put some people off. But I think the flip side of it is just like that expanded reach and that whole, you can play World of Warcraft anywhere. I think that would, you could sell Game Pass with that Razer combo or whatever. Like there are solutions that exist. And I think there's a bigger upside than a downside to doing as what the Winter Gamer suggests and put these games on Xbox. You can filter them in the store and going like, keyboard and mouse only. You can have a little disclaimer, something going like, just so you know, this requires a keyboard and or mouse. I think that would be okay, but yeah, I understand why they wouldn't want to do it as well.
Yeah. I mean, what they could even also do as an idea to float out there is if they did do keyboard and mouse only games, like Microsoft could do like a first party Xbox accessory, like a keyboard and mouse accessory for people to buy to then play with the games and something like that. Like that's right. Another option that they could explore as well, to kind of get people in the game. Cause you're right. Like I think someone should explore that space, but I think there might be something in the Xbox developer, guidelines that requires developers, include controller support of some kind in their games. And that might be the main reason why we haven't really seen someone try and do that yet. But that wouldn't be surprised me if, a developer tried that eventually, or if we did eventually see that be an idea. Because
I just look across the pond over at PlayStation. It's like, well, the other alternative is that you have a VR only, and that peripheral's like $1,000 or something. So it's kind of similar, like that there's a special requirement for VR games. I hope that analogy makes sense. I know it's not exactly apples to apples, but there could be, I think you kind of like alluded to like an Xbox bundle with a keyboard and mouse so that you buy it all at the same time. And before people jump in to say like, I don't want to play with the keyboard and mouse on my couch, I think we are underestimating, especially in global markets, how many people have an Xbox at a desk and a kind of a computer type of setup. Like basically where I'm at right now. Like I have that setup right now. And I think quite a few people, there's a more interesting mix of players who play on a couch and TV versus a monitor style setup. So, I mean, it could still work.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I think that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Xbox Drive.
Oh, that's
Before we go, Sean Plug, go.
Oh, man. I want to thank Luke and Adam for jumping on at patreon.com/carpoolgaming. We've got a ton of wonderful content happening at the $3 tier and up. So that's the exclusive tier. That's where you get the Console War Room, the Nintendo Drive post show, the Yumi Capri podcast, the Pants for Patreon podcast, for Patrons podcast, whatever that thing is called. It's all great. And you can find me by launching open your internet web browser, Netscape Navigator, hit Control-O or Command-O, and type in www.twitter.com/carpoolgaming for the rest of it. And Sean Capri, Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. I'm out of gas, Ryan. That's it for me.
I mean, it's been a long show. But as for me, you can find me on Twitter by opening your Palm Pilot and going to the browser app and then tapping on your screen.
Use your stylus.
www.twitter.com/Ryan Turford as well. You can also find us on YouTube at youtube.com/carpoolgaming, on podcast services around the globe. So for Sean Capri, I'm Ryan Turford. This has been episode 276, only 24 more episodes before episode 300. And we're out. Bye.
Bye. Bye.